All right. What to do, what to do, what to do. We're coming down to the final stretch. We're in the home stretch here of the 2020 electoral race. Here's to you for joining us on this Freaky Friday. Nice, cold, fresh martini. Now, one of the things you need to tell your friends if you're at cocktail parties this weekend, if you're at your son's flag football game or your daughter's soccer game, and you're talking about who you're going to vote for, why you're going to vote for, one of the big bull stories of the whole Joe Biden, Kamala Harris tax plan is that no one that makes under $400,000 will get a tax increase, okay? $400,000 and less, you're good. You don't have to make money. And I've been scratching my head on this number, like from the beginning. Why would they circle 400,000? I don't know. Why the heck? Why wouldn't they say 250 or 500? 500,000. You know what I mean? You half millionaires, you're dead. Why would they zero in on 400? I'm doing my perusing last night. After the show, I kind of field some calls, handle my other businesses, and then my mother makes me dinner. Last night I had to order some Chinese food, and then I do a lot of reading, and I go through different memes. I send them to the team, and I'm trying to research things that I want to talk about so I can talk about them smartly, all right? And I come across this grid, and it all hit me, just like this, okay? Did you know that 80% of the employees in this country are employed by small businesses with 2 to 4 employees? And that's a fact. That's from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Now look at these strange numbers. 80% of the employees in America work for companies that make $387,000 a year. So those small companies all make $387,000. So you're right underneath that. 80% of the companies in America, when they say 400,000, they're saying to them, you guys are okay. Okay? Now, that may sound a little strange to you, which it sounds like a good thing, right? Okay, good. Here's the weird thing. Any good small business owner, could we get in the habit of not leaving the graphic up there for a minute? Like, put it up, let me talk about it, and take it down, because people get bored when they're looking at the same thing for too long. Just as a matter of television production. All right, put it up again. Okay, take a look at this chart. Average revenue for companies by employee size. Notice the 2 to 4 employees, the average revenue is $387,000. Okay, so the trick from Joe Biden is if you're under 400,000, you're safe. That means every small business owner who employs 80% of the people in America at 387,000, you're safe. Not true. Okay? Any good small business owner is trying to grow every year. So if you're at 387 and you grow your company by 10% next year, you go to 420, now your taxes are going up on everything. Okay, so that's number one. Now, put that chart back up again, Nico, for a moment, please. Now, if you take a look, here's a clever little thing. If you grow and you say, hey, Donald Trump's economy is doing great, I'm going to hire a new employee, I'm going to go to 5 employees. Well, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, companies with 5 to 9 employees, average revenue is $1 million a year. Okay? $1 million a year. So if you go up by a marginal amount next year, you're all getting taxed from Joe Biden's tax plan. If you hire one more employee because you want to grow your business, your taxes are going up also. Okay? And the little hidden trick in the tax plan is a minimum corporate tax where every business has to pay a minimum 15% tax, which sounds great, like all those big companies are going to get taxed big, but that means on your $387,000, you will pay $55,000 in additional taxes because you got a 15% minimum tax. Now, on top of that, okay, Joe Biden has come square out and said, we need a federal minimum wage of $15. So when you're at the cocktail parties, when you're at the soccer games, when you're at the flag football games, and your friends telling you how Joe Biden's not going to raise your taxes unless you make over $400,000 a year, 80% of the small business owners in America make over $400,000 a year, or just under it. And that's why they set it at 400, because they know it won't affect 80% of the people on its face. Okay? Now, every small business in America has been completely under attack and besieged over the last 6 months. Over 15,000 restaurants have closed permanently. Okay, so the effects of the pandemic, the collateral effects on society have been crazy. 15,000 restaurants are closed permanently. Okay, so I think the average restaurant in America has 5 employees. I think I got that from the Small Business Administration a couple of weeks ago. 15,000 business restaurants, 5 employees. That's 75,000 people who can be added to the death toll of COVID from non-COVID related. They're out of work. They're out of jobs. They can't feed their family. And Nancy Pelosi won't let the Senate pass a $1.9 billion bill to give these people some more relief. So keep that in mind. And now on top of it, small businesses have been beleaguered and besieged with ever-changing rules, overreach by government, minimum capacities, wear masks, don't open, close, open, close. And now at the same time, these same businesses who employ 80% of America, they're going to get taxed more by Joe Biden. They're going to get locked down more by Joe Biden. And the ones that are still alive and kicking, they're going to have to raise all their employees up to $15 an hour. So if you want to see the complete and utter death of small business in America, then vote Biden. If you want the America I know and love, you know who you got to vote for, and we got to keep the Trump train rolling. That's for sure. Josh Bilicki is going to be joining us shortly. He is a NASCAR driver, a well-known NASCAR driver, and he's turned his number 7 car into the replica of a police cruiser for Sunday's Cup Series to honor the more than 200 cops that have been killed in the line of duty this year. All right, and they'll roll out the new paint job at the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia on November 1st. It looks like car looks incredible. Okay, and he is, of course, riding on the car sponsored by Insurance King. You know, our buddies over at Insurance King, they're always back in the blue. They're always coming out patriotically. And, you know, Insurance King certainly has a great love and patriotism for America. I'm interested to hear what Josh Bilicki is going to do to honor them. I think they're going to make some donations to the Wounded Blue organization, and that sounds like some of the stuff we're not seeing a lot of these days, might I add. A little later on in the show, we're going to talk about the what Michael Johns, the former co-founder of the Tea Party movement, one of the biggest revolutionary movements, grassroots, that kind of changed the Congress. And Michael Johns and I are going to dig into the closing arguments on all the reasons that you need to tell your friends why they need to grab a friend and get to the polls, because this needs to be an overwhelming win. Okay? Michael Fisher, president of the Central Park Civic Association, is going to be here talking about crime in New York City and other blue cities around the country where they're trying to defund the police. Patriotic artist and newly announced candidate for New York City Mayor Scott LoBaido is going to join us a little later in hour 2. And of course, our resident funny man, humorist, and professor Barry Goldsmith will join us at the end of the show today to wrap up your week for a Freaky Friday and a funny Friday. I have a lot of funny things to talk about. I actually went on a tear last night, as you could see, writing things up about all this. I don't know if you could see that, but yeah, that's my handwriting. It's encouraged. It's horrible, but I went on a tear last night writing stuff, and I want to go on a little rant a little later on about this little mini Max Rose guy. And Max Rose was on Morning Joke Off this morning, and was doing the same thing he always does, spewing one story here on the island and another story down there in Washington. And this guy You ever hear of someone who talks out of both sides of his mouth? This guy talks out of like 7 sides of his mouth. I don't even know a small body how it carries a mouth that big that could talk in 7 directions, but it happens. And you got the Max Rose followers encouraging young people to go out and engage in hate speech to fight against Trump. Lots of weird things happening. I think there's some big stuff going on the Nicole Malliotakis front also, which I'll update you on a little later on in a hotly contested congressional race here in New York. But we'll take a quick break, come back right after this. I hope you're having a cold one. I am. Enjoy it, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.